there's a woman who's a hero for me, Loujain Al-Houtoul, a Saudi women's rights activist, who actually went to school at the University of British Columbia, which happens to be my alma mater. She became world renowned as an activist for the woman's right to drive a car in Saudi Arabia. And as a consequence of that activism, she was harassed, imprisoned, tortured, electrocuted, all sorts of horrible things. And of course, her phone was hacked multiple times. In one of the recent instances where she was concerned about her phone, she reached out to us, and we actually managed to capture the exploit and a copy of Pegasus spyware from her phone's device. And this was a version of the spyware that's known in jargon in the industry, zero-click. That simply means that they don't need to trick somebody into clicking on a link. They can simply get inside any phone anywhere in the world. Because they pay for what are known as exploits. This is kind of the knowledge packaged up in some way of a vulnerability on maybe an application on your phone or the phone's operating system itself. And this is very precious. Some of these cost, for an iPhone today, you'd be looking at about $10 million to purchase one of those exploits. So the NSO group, firms like that, they either build them in-house or typically they buy them. And the latest versions allow government operators to just slip inside a phone undetected. So 1 minute your phone's fine, and the next it's not, and you're none the wiser.
And you've done nothing. You've
done nothing. It's operating perfectly fine. And of course, the spyware is architected to evade forensic analysis. So, it disappears, which makes our job very difficult. But from Loujain, we actually captured a copy of it, and we did a responsible disclosure to Apple. So several times now we've done these type of responsible disclosures, and the firms move very quickly. Apple and others, Microsoft, we've done it with, we've worked with Google. As much as I'm critical of those companies for other reasons, they do have these threat intelligence teams that take this stuff very seriously. And Apple issued a patch that fixed that flaw for their billion-plus users worldwide. It's actually one of the things I'm most proud of that doesn't get a lot of the attention, is that Citizen Lab has done this now, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times. Wow. Billions of people's digital security improved over and over again. Wow. That one case, though, is very important because it came from Loujain, who, as we speak, is in countrywide arrest. She can't leave Saudi Arabia. Very brave person. And for those of you who use iPhones, you can thank her for the fact that, well, at least for a while, it was more secure than it was before that.
And you really pay tribute in the book to Omar and others, in terms of the cost of their advocacy and the emotional trauma of what it's like to be under this kind of constant surveillance. You think you get away from Saudi Arabia, you come here for safety, but it's a different kind of psychological trauma, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not that. It's honestly, this area sometimes seems very technical in nature. There's a lot of bits and bytes and sleuthing on the internet and stuff like that, which is all profoundly cool. But there's a huge human dimension to this, which accumulates over time. You meet people like Omar Abdulaziz, you meet journalists, you meet human rights defenders, you speak to them, you break the news to them. You say, I want to tell you, your phone that you've been carrying in your pocket for the last year, it's been under surveillance. And the government that you fled from for fear of your life, that maybe, took the lives of very close family members or friends, they've been watching everything that you have been doing. And they say, well, what do you mean? I say, well, this spyware enables them to turn on the microphone, turn on the camera, track your location through the GPS. This is godlike capabilities in the hands of some of the world's worst dictators. When you tell people that, the reaction is pretty overwhelming. I'm sure you can imagine it. The psychological and emotional trauma many people experience about it is profound, to the point where some people actually retreat. They don't want to look at the internet. They don't want to touch their phone. They're afraid to associate with members of their diaspora community, which is the most insidious effect of all of this, actually. It really begins to stifle what we normally associate with the internet and social media, which is this kind of, hey, it's a great tool to connect, to engage in activism. But then, you have this enormous fear. It's like a huge shadow cast over people. What should we do? Well, when I described to you that there literally is no defense, when we did the forced entry disclosure and Apple commented on it on the news, they were asked, what can people do to defend themselves? And all of the big tech platforms came out and literally said there is no defense against this. That's the reality. For high-risk people out there, there is nothing you can do as long as this type of industry exists. You have something really perverse and unprecedented in human history. Veterans of some of the world's most sophisticated intelligence agencies operating commercial firms. So governments can, as if going on Amazon or eBay, they can purchase stuff out of the movies like Enemy of the State or whatever. They can now purchase that stuff from these firms, and there's literally no regulation. That's very scary. That's I don't want to mince words. That is a scary prospect. That said, everybody can do things. If you're a high-risk user, Apple introduced a feature called lockdown mode. I have my phone on lockdown mode all the time. We have yet to see one of these sophisticated spywares defeat a phone, penetrate a phone with lockdown mode initiated. Lockdown mode is very inconvenient to use. My phone is not like probably most of your phones. I don't receive calls from people that are on my contact list. I can't click on links. So it basically is reducing the attack surface of your phone. If you're a high-risk person, I would strongly advocate you do that. Or if you are associated with a high-risk person, I would strongly advocate doing that. But for everyone, you could improve your digital security. There's a great resource that Consumer Reports has that the Citizen Lab actually created called Security Planner. So everybody is aware of Consumer Reports. If you buy like a milkshake maker or an oven or something, you go there and you look at their ratings. They have this great resource called Security Planner now, where they give you a set of personalized recommendations just to improve your digital security hygiene. They're not selling you anything. They don't want to take your data. They're just giving you strong recommendations that actually our researchers helped develop.
Going to one question here. In your opinion, is it justified for countries fighting internal and external terror threats to use digital espionage as a preemptive measure?
I think there is a legitimate argument to use. Well, let me backtrack a bit. There are some people in my community, I'm talking about the human rights community, that have passionately argued this technology should be banned. It's like the nuclear technology of surveillance. Like there's no legitimate use for this. It's way too invasive. There's no way that you can minimize data and use this technology that would be in any shape or form consistent with international human rights law. And I respect people who say that. I get what they're saying because, frankly, when you can get inside someone's device, you can see everything about them. They're extremely invasive, those devices in our pockets. They tell a lot about us. That said, I also am sympathetic to the argument that we want to have strongly trained, well-equipped law enforcement and even intelligence agencies, because the world's a nasty place. There are very bad people out there. The question to me is not so much should they use these tools or not use these tools. It's about the guardrails. That's the problem. And that's what's missing right now. And that's kind of the mission. Our mission is to say, hey, if there are no guardrails, you're going to have like a slew of abuses all over the world, which we have shown now, I think, convincingly. So let's wake up. Let's do something about it.